probably have to do some passing of the mics. Scott has a mic. Yeah, sounds good. Well, there's so many amazing makers here up on the stage. This seminar is all about homebrew, building homebrew pinball machines. And after you hang out with us here, head on over to the show floor where you can play some games. So we have Pinball in Wonderland, Big Trouble in Little China, and Pokemon pinball here. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass it down the line and allow y'all to each kind of introduce yourselves. And then Aaron, I'd like for us to do like a few profile minutes on each of the creators who have their games here to talk about their projects. And then we want to open it up to just kind of like a casual Q&A. Like, we have a packed room. I'm sure all of y'all have questions on, how to get your next game project up and running, and you have some amazing makers here to pull that information from. So let's have an awesome chat about making some games.
Yep. Hi everybody. Can you hear me okay? Is this actually working? Okay.
Yay!
So I'm Scott Denisi. I make pinball stuff all the time. My day job is actually at Pinball Life. I'm the engineer over there, and I am officially I guess I'm the CTO of Pinball Life. I do all the technology stuff over there. I have made a homebrew game in my past, which has gone to production with TNA.
Yay!
It's an interesting story, but we don't have to talk about that now. But that is my background.
All right, my name is Aaron Davis. I started a company called Fast Pinball with my friend Dave. We make electronics to build pinball machines, commercial games, homebrew games, all that kind of stuff. And so I come to shows like this just to see all the cool things that get built with the electronics that we make and what gets built in homebrew pinball, period. So that's my story for right now. I'm going to give it to this guy who actually builds incredible stuff.
Hey everybody, my name is Kyle. I built Friday the 13th homebrew in my basement, and I built Big Trouble Little China in my kitchen. If I can do it, you can do it. I have no background in engineering, coding, any of that kind of stuff. So as Aaron likes to point out, I'm an English major, so I'm very story driven when it comes to making my games. So I look forward to the chat.
Yay!
Hi, I'm Owen Underwood. I work with Luke, my brother. We've made 2 pinball machines. The first one was League of Legends, and the one that we have here is Pokemon. We've been doing this for about 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, you said I'm Luke. I do more of the engineering design stuff, and he does all of the coding, so that split works pretty well for us.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the guys working on Pinball in Wonderland. I do a lot of the engineering, coding, wiring, that kind of stuff. I am manager full time, but not really mechanical, electrical stuff. So this is a great way to do some of the real engineering work. I think a lot of my professional work is mainly on a computer. So yes, had a blast.
Hi, I'm Cayman Kai. I'm the lead designer on Pinball in Wonderland, and I'm trying to be potentially one of the first lead female pinball designers is my goal. So this is my first one. I'm building my resume.
All right, so I think part of the big goal for doing these talks together is so that all of you can see that we're normal people amongst all of us creative people, but you can come up and talk to us at shows and see what it takes to build these games. And I think that like Emoto was saying, to kind of highlight some of the projects that are actually here. So Cayman, you're probably the newest of the mix out there right now, and so I think that your journey is So I think that when people walk up and see all the games down there, we have the range from what this guy does, what these guys do, and then what you guys are starting to do here too. And I think that I love how you see people come up and they see all the work, and some people are enamored by one or perplexed by another or curious about another. And I think it's been really fun watching people come up and stand around your game and see all the stuff you've been adding in. And I know that one of the first things you said when I got here was can you see the differences? And you see the play fields where they start cutting pieces out, filling other pieces in as the idea evolves a little bit. So do you want to talk a little bit about where you guys are at in the process and what you think you got to do next?
Sure, yeah, we're about 1.5 years in at this point. We debuted the game for the first time at TPF in March, And we got it flipping for the very first time ever 2 minutes before the show floor opened.
True homebrew fashion right there. You know?
So wow. Okay, that was very stressful. It was literally like a newborn child. It could not survive on its own. We had to constantly stand next to it at all times. It kept like having bugs and stuff. So, now, we just really focused this time a lot on the visual. I mean, it's a lot prettier this time. It has been really nice to hear people talk about how pretty it is. And, we just put vinyl wood on the sides. We used like flower foam in between and put characters on top, and it added character to it. Our artist was able to do the stickers. We were able to get that on the night before like 10 minutes before we put it in my car, basically. So, and we spent the past couple months working on the second level, building ramps. We've added Omar to our team, who is the brilliant mastermind behind all of our 3D modeling and stuff.
But he's a bit shy, so he's not going to be joining us on this stuff.
But if you want to talk about 3D modeling and stuff, talk to Omar. But I remember at TPF, it really felt like we were naked next to a bunch of people in suits, because all these other homebrews were amazing and ours was barely working. I mean, ours is still a whitewood here, but it's operating on its own right now, hopefully. So it's come a long way, and it's really cool to be a lot more comfortable. And it is still the only whitewood here, but I feel a lot more confident about it. And we did it. All you got to do is take that first step and actually just do it.
I guess I like that something. I think that it is important, because I feel like a lot of times you go to these things and you see these like the end product of what is in fact a very long journey, a very long process. And it's very cool. It's very 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 finished, very polished, very impressive. But I think it's also important to know that most of the time is not the end point. It's like the in between points. But that doesn't mean that those in between points aren't worth sharing, aren't worth discussing. And I think at TPF and then now as well, we kind of wanted to kind of show that you don't have to have a professional level product to be a homebrew, or to share what you're working on with a wider audience. It's more about the act of creation, the act of producing, at least obviously the commercial levels is about the act of producing, but I think at the it's kind of the amateur level, it's more about the craft, more about the creation of it.
Well, and it's sharing the journey too, because I think that the idea of bringing a game that doesn't feel finished to an event like this, it may seem intimidating, but what you got to think about is you're getting all this free feedback, like all of us standing around looking at your game going, I tried that too, and here's something I learned along the way. Or like, you might want to change this, or even on your game, I've commented on it every time I've seen it, just fun ways to prototype. It's like you've got the metal rulers, these flexible rulers that are ball guides now. We all have that flexible metal ruler in our house someplace. So seeing creative ways that people try and get their idea on the playfield is really a cool thing to do. And I think, again, like they were saying, like having these fit and finish games that we see out here, the gap is really big sometimes when you look at it that way. But at the same time, when your game came out, it was a whitewood with Sharpies all over it. Like, it stood out. You could hear it across the room because it sounded incredible. But I think that really getting it here and seeing what people can do and watching random people that are playing it, what they find is fun, maybe the fun thing that you can't even get to yet, but the things you're going to learn by getting something to a show is really important, and really useful, and it's fun. I mean, we're a good bunch of people to hang out with. Like, we think this stuff is super cool. So, all right, let's talk about Pokemon. So, we've seen this game come as a whitewood, 2 years?
2022 was
Yeah.
the first year.
Here, grab the mic. So going from your whitewood journey to now a full dress, and I think you were even talking about wanting to do one more pass even at the full dress. So talk a little bit about the Pokemon journey that we've seen kind of evolve in front of our eyes.
Yeah, so Pokemon was our second game, but it felt like we almost started all over when we started working on it, and we did hundreds of prototypes, maybe not 100, but so many prototypes, and even now, you never are truly done with the game. We really thought this was going to be the end, you put all the art on it, but you take it to shows and you get experience and you just find more things, so we think you could do one more iteration.
And so what's this next iteration going to accomplish? That's going to get it closer to being actually done?
We hope so. But you're never really done, like we all like to say. But I think it's mostly little tweaks and things that we've noticed from bringing it to shows and watching people play a bunch. And obviously, like, we're very happy with where it is right now, but it can always like be better. And there are some things we've noticed that could, you know, bring it up some more. Yeah.
Nice. All right, give me that mic back. So I like seeing teams working together, okay? Because we can't all be good at everything every time. But I think that what's really cool about Homebrew is, you know, you find the thing that you want to do, and then the thing that you're willing to do, and then there's the part that you hate doing. And if you can find somebody that does the part you hate doing and wants to be, that's the fun part for them, then you find a really cool combination. And you get this accountability going, all right? So like the idea of like a one-off project by yourself is a lot. It's a lot to take on, but some people are into that. You guys did your games solo, right? I mean,
Basically, yeah. So with TNA anyway, so that was done all by myself except for the artwork.
okay.
So Matt Andrews came in and saved the day on that because I am not an artist. I can't do it. It would look terrible. It would look like Sharpie if I were to do it. So
It did.
It would look exactly like it did look like back then. So I'm glad he came in and did that.
Well, I'd say too that like, I mean, being the fun part of other projects, I mean, you've added music to other projects, you know, like this guy here. Like, let's talk about Kyle for a second, okay? So Kyle's done.
About time.
So sorry, I'm trying to remember like the topics. All I can see is just trophies. So this is an award-winning homebrew designer. It's not about the awards, but it is really cool to see the acknowledgement that homebrew games are getting these days. Like these passion projects that people can put all the blood, sweat, and tears they want to into a project, and seeing that stuff come to life and then get played. You know, I always love seeing, like, Esther, when you came out, to see, you got to stand back and watch your husband's crazy game in front of a bunch of huge fans of pinball and homebrew pinball. You got to see it, like, in the environment. You understand the madness maybe a little bit more now. But, okay, but talk a little bit about your process, because you, like you said, I was so impressed when we first met, because I said, what is your homebrew plan? And you're like, I start with this narrative that I want to bring to life, and you bring that to life. So talk about your process.
So for me, with homebrew, you kind of have to be a little bit good at everything. If you're really, really good at one thing and you suck at everything else, it might not be as successful for you. So I like to be an inch deep and a mile wide. So I'm kind of good at a lot of stuff. Like Scott, I can't draw. I also can't do music. So I'm like, hey, Scott, can you do my music? And then I reach out to some artists who are good. I'm like, hey, can you guys do my art? So in my process, first of all, you have to have a very patient and supportive family. Like my wife likes nothing to do with pinball, arcade stuff, but she was like, okay, Dad's building another game in the kitchen. I guess we'll just move my salad shooter and my air fryer over. So with the first game, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do it. I just kind of, I fumbled my way towards success. I pulled in who I thought I needed. With the second game, I wanted to subvert expectations. I didn't want to do another horror game, and I wanted to pull in more heavy hitters with the art and that kind of stuff. So I was able to reach out to some really established, talented people in the community who were ready to help me. And I'm taking everything that I learned with the first game and the second game and moving that onto the third game, which is now occupying parts of the kitchen and some of the living room. So there is no one way to build a game. It's kind of what works for you, recognizing what you can do well and what you can't do. What you can't do, you kind of outsource or get some help from the community.
Yeah. And so I think one thing that I hear when you describe your process is like, you've got a vision for what it is. And so when you've got that vision for what you want to bring to life, and you know that like you're not the person to do it all, there is that added task of like communicating clearly what it is you want to see done to people who want to help. And I think a lot of times people feel like, okay, I'm gonna have some people help me out. I don't want to be too bossy, and I don't want to like be too directive because they're working for free or for a good price. My advice on that is like, be extra specific. You know, the idea of like, if I'm gonna help you on a project, I want to know what I'm in for. You know, so if you're just kind of freewheeling and not clear on what it is, people might not really want to get involved, but you can say, hey, I want to have an animation that looks like this, that has this character on it, and he does these 6 steps. I know what I would need to do to help you out, and you might be more likely to find people who want to engage if you're clearer on things. So I guess when you've got the vision on stuff and when you're working with other people, like treat it like it's a real project, because in the end, it is a real project, and the people involved are going to love to be able to show off their contribution to a really cool project that you got to make. So, I mean, these talks go by super fast. And so what we hear from show to show is that there's not enough time for questions. So, I mean, how are we on time? We're like almost done.
We got 40 minutes.
Okay.
We've got about 3:30.
Okay, so we do have some significant time.
Yeah, we do.
So, how do we want to jump into this? Emoto, just start asking general questions, or like?
Yeah, well,
I'd like
first
to
off,
see-
let's
yeah.
ask the audience who's in here wanting to make a homebrew game.
Or
Who's
is
in
actually in
here?
the process of making
Or-
one.
Yeah.
You want to make one, and then is in the process of making one. Oh, okay.
Give them a pie. Give them a pie. So I think that that's what's really fun about these things too. Is like you'll see the people that kind of stand at the back of the homebrew space, kind of like checking things out, and then you find out that they're like halfway through building a game, and we just haven't met yet. So these shows and these meetups and stuff like that are a good chance to connect with everybody too. So I guess like questions wise, I mean like what do you want to ask any of these people that are actually building homebrew? Like I know that there's questions. There's no dumb questions. The dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. So does anybody have anything you want to throw out?
What hardware do you use?
Nice.
Yeah, I guess at the risk of spitting in your face, what do you use, fast or P-Rock or?
Well, I use fast.
But everyone went on the line and say what system they used and the pros and cons.
Sure, absolutely. So I use the P-Rock system, the P3 Rock platform. So that is the multimorphic platform. That one is, it was back in, when was that, 2015? Jeez, man. It's almost 10 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah, I did that because I had experience with that hardware platform. So that is, there's multiple ways to do this, right? I won't talk too long about this, but you can go with a pre-existing hardware platform like Fast or with the multimorphic stuff, or you could get real crazy, build your own stuff with Arduinos and transistors and all sorts of other things. If you're into electronics and electrical engineering, it's totally doable. I've seen it many times. There's some also open source stuff that is available. I forgot what that thing was called though. What was that name of that one? OPP, yeah. I don't know if that is still supported or still active. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Cobra Pin.
Oh, Cobra Pin. Okay, cool. Yeah. So there's a lot of open source stuff too. So I'll keep going down the line here because these guys will add some more good stuff.
All right, so obviously, fast pinball I think is the greatest thing ever made. Our goal is to get people making games faster, and so like I think that we started originally to like build pinball, and I've built 0 full pinball machines myself. But being able to help people create games, yeah. But dude, they're so close. Like I've got ideas. Like I'll share them with you later. That's gonna be a long day. But I think that like Scott was saying, like there's a lot of different ways to do this stuff, and I think that really picking the part that's going to get your project moving, like get some momentum going on it, is like what I love seeing when people like buy a box of fast stuff and then start building. So getting you to the part that attracted you to wanting to make homebrew pinball is really like I'd say just get anything to get started. Here you go.
So my first game was using Cobra. So if you're thinking about using a game, it's like what is the platform? Is it PC, Linux, Mac? You pick one, and then you pick your kind of conduit between the software and the computer. So is it fast? Is it P3? Is it Cobra? So my first game was Cobra. It worked great. I brought my game to the show, and I challenge anybody, if anybody's not going to use fast, that's okay. Nobody's going to talk you out of it, but spend 5 minutes with Aaron. Aaron will not talk you out of anything that you're doing, but his passion and enthusiasm is infectious. So I'm talking to Aaron, I'm like, okay, fast. And Big Trouble in Little China is based off of fast, and my next game will be fast as well, because we have an incredible ambassador to this hobby who has a depth of knowledge and is able to work, and he's giving me 20s underneath the table. He's able to kind of help you with future projects. And it's in commercial projects, right? So to answer your question, Cobra and then fast and fast from here on out.
All right, our first game was with P3, and then our second game was with Cobra Pin, and now we have a set of fast boards. So we're going through all of them.
Which one do you like the best?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't,
Don't look to the right.
we haven't used fast, and we stopped using P3. So.
Forget to get our yeah, so we're also using Fast. We went with Fast because we actually started with getting a kit. We reached out to Ernie at Trident Pinball. Basically what he does is the purist basically says, okay, he gives us the cut play field and basically enough to get like the basic like bottom the board, flippers and stuff, as well as kind of electronics. And this is kind of, we were talking with him about it, kind of we didn't really know how to get started, kind of where should we start. So we reached out and he says, these are some systems. Fast pinball is great. It's easy setup. It's fast. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. And it's been great. It's been really good so far. I just kind of noticed that we went to the Barrels of Fun Hackery Tour today, and all those boards they also use fast. Just kind of it's really cool, just like seeing the systems we use at Homebrew. as I said, are used in, commercial, professional grade machines, and it's just like
Yeah, I do want to say too, you brought up Ernie and the Trident pinball stuff. So I think what is super cool about what Ernie's doing is he's like trying to kit some stuff up for you. So it's like if you go to his tridentpinball.com like site, and it's all over the internet and stuff, but what he's going to sell you is like, here's a play field with just the lower third cut out. And then here's the metal mechanical parts to give you your trough, your slings, your flippers, and stuff like that. So if you go through his kit, it's even paired with like a PC that's got like software already running on it. So you can go and set everything up, hook everything up, and then be flipping something. I mean, it's a super basic, boring game. There's nothing to it aside from some flippers and slings. But the idea of going from this idea that you want to get started on and get creating to actually have something that now you've got these flippers that work and you can start hot gluing stuff to the upper play field and figure out where different things are routed. That's a really cool thing, because I think that, on all the stuff that's been done in Homebrew pinball for a long time, it's been like, like Marcos will sell like, ramp pieces and ball guides and things like that. So I always love seeing like, I was at Expo this year, you guys brought a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of things that have been, leftovers from other games and other parts and stuff. So it is fun to come to shows like this and find those things. You might see like a little ramp piece and go, I can bandsaw half of that off and start with something else there. But I guess that like getting anything together that you can put in front of you that like gets that project moving along. I think what Ernie's done is fantastic. In fact, like somebody had I woke up one morning and someone had sent me a link being like, hey, somebody was trying to do kits online, And I tried to make that stuff work for a long time, but like the Mission Pinball framework was super new, so there was no way to kind of streamline that yet. But I reached out right away and was like, call me, because I want to see this actually happen. And we've met a lot of people that have come in, just like you were describing, that go, I am not, maybe the idea of like stringing all this stuff together into a project to start might be a lot, but if somebody tells you, here's the piece of wood that you're gonna mount this stuff to and wire it up, for some people that kind of takes a big abstract, complicated idea and turns it into something very specific that you can get started on. So that's super cool. So I love to see what people are doing, like kit-wise, and different ways to kick people off. But
one thing I might add to that, actually, kind of late in the game, we ended up getting the Homebrew loot crate from Marco Pinball.
yeah, those
And
loot
we
crates
did
are
actually, one of our ramps was from that, but honestly, if I were to go back in time, what I probably would have done is ordered that loot crate before we'd even started designing virtually, so we had some pieces to start with, that would have sparked some inspiration, because honestly, it was a little overwhelming to just like design from scratch, and if we had
we
pieces
couldn't
like
fit everything in. It's like, does this fit? This looks cool, but it doesn't fit with our design. We have to redesign the whole thing. It became,
Yeah, I would say between Ernie's kit and the Homebrew loot crate, if you like kind of started with those, that'd be a really awesome way to get started if it's your first one.
Yeah, and when you guys are starting stuff too, if you use one of those kits, I don't know, do I need this microphone? Am I loud enough? Do you guys hear me okay?
You're loud enough.
Okay, cool,
Yeah, really
cool.
good.
So, if you get one of those kits and you start doing that, it's a great way to start, as they were saying, but don't be afraid to swap stuff out of there. You don't really want to use something that, like, let's just pretend like everybody's got the same lower third of the playfield. You want to do what you want to do, right? If that's exactly what you wanted, then by all means leave it that way. But don't be afraid to start experimenting with stuff and swapping a slingshot out and putting a pop lumber there instead, or something stupid like that. So, it's a
would
lot
do
of
that?
fun.
Yeah,
No one does that. No, yeah, it's not a thing. But seriously, like it's a lot of fun. That's what makes Homebrew fun, is making something unique and showing people something different than they normally see, right? Like, so, you don't want to build a game that looks like another game that's already out there. Build something different, do something wacky, do something risky, right? That the companies won't do. Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Like one of the questions I hear a lot is like, what should I do for a theme, or what should my Homebrew goal be? And on a whim, my response to that was like, do the things that the commercial games couldn't do. Something that's not going to be commercially viable, or it's going to be too expensive or complicated to make in mass production. Make that game you want to see. And that's why, like, you see the projects like Kyle Reed's Harry Potter Homebrew game. Like that game, if it was mass production, would be like $30,000.
Does it have like 64 coils or something?
No, it's like 80. It was insane. Like those projects are the ones that like let you like go, this is what I want to see happen, and then start building and start designing. And again, like I think that also I want to add too, another thing that we see people doing more and more of is the idea of like starting a homebrew. It's not just layout and design. You know, it's also like you're writing code, working on electronics and stuff like that go with it. So you do see some people who will find, it's kind of like the salvage playfields, right? Like you find a playfield that's populated, but like the coils are trash, there's no electronics or wiring. Like pick those up. You can get them for like a couple $100 sometimes. And there's probably like $500 worth of metal parts on there too, you know? So you take that, you clean it all up, you put fresh wiring and new electronics on it. Now you're shooting a game and stringing together code that is, you're not starting with like cutting wood and bending metal, you know? Because again, some people are just enticed to like actually get working on a project, and maybe that part's the hard part, you know?
What software do I use to write code? Are there multiple different?
There's a ton.
Yeah.
So the big one right now is MPF. MPF is the one that gets you up and running very quickly. That one is really based on Python, which is also another, like, for if you're using like a multi-morphic platform, you can use MPF or whatever you want. But there is something called Skeleton Game, which is really basic and it's all Python, and that allows you to really dig in there and just, you know, do all sorts of wacky stuff. But MPF is also there as something that sits kind of on top, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It sits kind of on top of the Python to help you get started with it, in case you don't know Python enough to dig down deep into it and start doing other custom things with it. But there are some other, like I've seen people do stuff in C as well, especially when using like low-level microprocessors and stuff. I don't know if anyone here is probably gonna dig down that deep. I probably wouldn't recommend that at first. I would do something that is easy to get up and running and just start letting the creative stuff flow, and don't let the technology be the thing that holds you back.
Did all y'all use MPF as well too? That's just kind of the standard?
Mission Pinball Framework.
Yeah.
.org, I think, right?
And it's an open source, like, you know, framework. So, I mean, it's community supported, you know. I think that one of the big things, like you can write games a lot of different ways, but what MPF does a really good job of is all the stuff you don't think about, like player management, ball finds, like all the little things that run under the hood that make, you know, pinball machines run smooth. MPF has done a really good job of that. But I would say like again, fast, whatever. So the fast end of things, it's people are writing games in Unity, in Unreal, JavaScript. Like, I mean, anything that can make a serial connection can talk to the fast hardware and stuff. So just when I like think I've seen it all, someone has some new fun way that they're controlling it with like a mobile app that's on their phone that's like, you know, connected wirelessly to some device that's now connected serial to our boards. I mean, it's fantastic. Like, it's super cool to see that stuff come to life. But yeah.
This gentleman in the front,
Oh, yeah.
you had a question right there? No? You good?
Sure.
So,
Is it like a virtual pinball that y'all do? Like, if I were to make a virtual pinball, what software would I use?
who has done virtual before? Okay, so I will let them answer.
Yeah, so VPX is great. It's kind of annoying to download for some reason, but there's a lot of stuff. Visual pinball. But it's great, and we didn't use it to make our first game, so we didn't know about it. But for like our newer games, you know, that are still in the Whitewood stage, we use visual pinball, and it kind of does so much of the heavy lifting at the beginning, because prototyping your early games can be really painful. You make a lot of changes initially, so it can kind of get like your first like 3 Whitewood playfields out of the way, and I think it's pretty accurate in terms of the physics that it uses, and it's really easy to just like draw your ball guides and get flipping. So visual.
If you were to, so do you have a theme in your mind? Like, if you were to make a game, is there something that you kind of think in your mind of something you might like to do?
Maybe a P3 game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with your theme, let's just pick a pretend theme. So pick something pretend that's not your theme, so as not to divulge a secret. Minecraft. Okay. So before you go into VPX, before you draw anything, and you step up to the game, in your mind, who are you? Steve? Okay, you're Steve. What are you trying to do?
Stop defeat the other guy.
Okay, awesome. So you're Steve, and I'm not a Minecraft guy, but you're defeating like the zombie sheep or whatever it is. So now you start in your mind to see shot paths, and you start to see rules, and you start to see that stuff. you can go into VPX, and I tried for 5 minutes and I quit. And I'm like, this sucks. I don't understand any of it. So I got on my cocktail napkin. But with you may feel more comfortable starting in virtual and then moving on. For some of the older people, like, I'm not doing that whole hootenanny. I'm going to get my cocktail napkin.
I've never heard you talk like this before.
I give a different I give a different version of myself with every speech. So that to me is important. Narrative. Who am I? I am Steve, and I'm here to conquer the world of Minecraft, and I have to do this, this, and this to fight the big main bad guy. And you can do that through VPX. You can do that with on the back of a Denny's napkin while your parents are talking about taxes or whatever. But that to me is super fun. And as far as the software, don't let that intimidate anybody. OPP, skeleton, NP is like, oh my God. You do have to think about things differently in terms of events. An event happens, which triggers another event. And that took months for me to even comprehend. Like, I just didn't quite get it. So it's all event-based. You start a game, that's an event. The ball kicks out, does a skill shot, that's an event. That event will trigger a light show, or a sound, or an audio clip. And as soon as you start to put that together, the light bulb comes on. You're like, oh, this is how it works. And I'll tell you that a lot of the people who try and don't necessarily finish can't quite get over that hurdle. You can do it, you just have to kind of think a little bit differently. But again, multiple approaches.
I've got something really interesting too to share with you guys. So this, if you're curious about building a game and you're like, well, I could probably handle the coding, but like all this building is kind of just really, really overwhelming for me. A lot of these games have hardware platforms in them that are open source. So if you have, for instance, I'm just gonna use my stuff as an example because I can talk to it best, but if you have a TNA at home, you can take a laptop, place it on the glass, unplug the USB cable from the P3 rack, plug in your laptop to that P3 rack, install NPF on your laptop, and you could fire up that TNA game and do anything you want with that. And you can code it right on your laptop and make it run and you can play it. And there's just like, so that's something, I don't know why people aren't doing that yet, but all of the games that I have done are all that same way. You can just unplug them, plug another computer in. If you don't like that, you unplug your computer, you plug the stock one back in, and you power cycle it, and you're good to go again. You're not gonna break it. There's fuses on everything. So it's like, you know, worst case, you blow some fuses, you'll be fine.
Just give some fuses around.
Yeah, you're fine. People have fuses anyway, right? Yeah.
And we have another question.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point of, I'm starting to go from all my doodles and sketches to starting to want to draw this thing up so I can start doing some CNC stuff. What software design stuff do you recommend for if you're going to be doing CNC and also to visualize like all the mechanics and stuff and all the interference stuff that you got to think about?
Well, so what I recommend you doing, since you're still in the paper phase of this thing, I recommend you get a blank piece of wood and get it to the right size of a playfield and actually draw it on the playfield and cut it by hand. Don't do software at this point. It's gonna slow you down a lot. You need to start drilling things to the playfield physically and seeing if what you drew on the napkin actually works. You can buy pop bumper assemblies that are, all you have to do is take a 2.5-inch hole saw and drill through that thing and just screw the thing onto the bottom and see what kind of clearances you're looking at. But that's the fastest way to do that because the first time you do this, it's gonna be really wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not any knock toward you whatsoever, but it's for everybody, including myself.
And the first game I'm working on is a head-to-head joust style game,
Nice.
so that adds even more.
Yep.
Add even more complexity.
Yeah,
to it.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome.
But just mock it up first. Plywood is very cheap, and it's pretty easy to do that. And then you
Just do cardboard.
Yeah.
Don't bother with legit cardboard.
Well,
Yeah, or cardboard. Yeah.
We bought a whiteboard that we had cut to exactly a playfield size, and then we just
I have that too.
then we just drew on it. We doodled for quite a while on that, and then we built it in Visual Pinball. And then we're still using our first playfield cut, and guess what? We filled in holes that are like this big, and then we cut new ones that are that big ourselves. So, don't be afraid to change things.
I will also say that when you do all that and get something working, what program, I think maybe the question, what program would you use after that? I believe Visual Pinball does have like an export function where you basically take the playfield you set to Visual Pinball, you export it, and then you can just cut that. Other programs that I've used for things would be something equivalent to like Adobe Illustrator. I know that can be quite expensive, but basically any vector graphic software. Adobe Illustrator I've used, but it's kind of expensive. Affinity Designer is another tool that I've been using more recently for other projects, not pinball related. That's another excellent kind of vector graphic software. So those are maybe the two tools I'd recommend if anyone else has other
There is
recommendations.
some other ones. So you should learn some CAD software as well. So something like a free version of 2D CAD is called QCAD. I don't know if anyone's seen that or used that at all. It looks basically like AutoCAD, and it almost functions like AutoCAD, but you'll be able to do things in there and get exact drawings. You can import like images and stuff and trace things, but actually get things output into a CAD format. And then from there, I would recommend going with something more in the 3D environment once you get further along, because then you can start building space allocation models for things like pop bumpers and flipper assemblies, and start putting everything together and make sure that your actual whitewood, when you cut it for real and it costs you a good amount of money, that it's closer to what you want.
This is so cool to hear because I've done none of what everybody's talking about. So if your eyes roll to the back of your head, you're not alone, right? And in 20 seconds or less, I'll tell you my kind of rudimentary way that I do it. So I go through 4 different play fields. So like Big Trouble in Little China, Friday the 13th, same thing, 4 play fields. First play field, blank sheet of wood. I'm drilling like crazy. I'm hot gluing. Half of my original white wood is like toothpicks and coffee stirrers, right? You want to get as dirty and in the weeds as you can. The second play field has a more refined layout, and it does have cutouts, and I use AI, Adobe Illustrator, not AI. I am anti-AI in all my games. So Adobe Illustrator, there is a subscription to that, but that's just the way that I learned, and that is, you are literally just kind of drawing things, and then that will export to CAD, and you can cut it out. So the first play field, you're gonna go bananas. The second play field has the majority of your cutouts with inserts, and that's where you learn how to glue in inserts, and then you can start to goof around with the light shows. The third play field that I get has the shot geometry pretty much 99% done. It has all the inserts, and then you get your art if you choose to work with an artist, or you wanna do art yourself if you can draw. You can get that printed on a giant sticker, and you can go through Sticker U. There's like 100 different places to get a playfield size sticker. Slap that on, and then you can see if the art is cohesive with the light shows and the shots and that kind of stuff. And then you can move around the shots or the art. And the fourth playfield for me is the one that's direct print, clear coded, and that kind of stuff. So again, I'm much more basic than I think a lot of the smarter folks up here. But again, to my point, there's so many different ways to do this. So if you're an engineering genius, or you're an English major, there's a path.
Yeah, I guess
I think we have one more comment. I was just gonna say, like, the 3D modeling part is, I think it's my favorite. Is I think the part that I do the best for pinball. So just to answer your questions like directly, Fusion 360 is what I used for a long time, and then I switched to SolidWorks. You can get like a hobbyist SolidWorks license for like $50 a year, so it's not terrible. But yeah, Fusion 360 works great.
And just, like, if you're getting crazy into it, you really want to learn like industry standard stuff, though, SolidWorks is what all of the companies use, just so you know. Like there's all sorts of really great options, though, like Onshape and Fusion 360, but it's like, yeah, if that's the real thing that every single one of the companies is using.
You also mentioned somebody named Ernie that's got a kit.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of my speed of starting.
Tried it pinball.
Tried it like undersea port thing.
Friday the 13th used Ernie's kit, so I think I was his first customer. The best thing about using Ernie is the customer support. He's a patience of Job. I don't get it. He has never lost his temper when I'm pulling what's left of my hair out. So Ernie is a fantastic resource for sure.
Yeah, so I was about to say the exact same thing. So this customer support is a Discord channel. Try to Pinball Discord, which is like a bunch of people who've done homebrew, who are interested in homebrew, or on that thing, and they really ask questions. Like, we meet once a week, like Thursday evenings. Like, it's like 8 or 9 p.m. We have some question, TPFs in like a week. We're like asking questions, and we give responses. Almost immediately. Either Early's on there, or someone else who's dealt with these problems before is kind of on there. And they're always so nice and so willing to kind of share what they know and help out with kind of whatever. So it's a good program.
Yeah, so
Not just what you get, but what you continue to get with all the community support.
Yeah, value is not just the kit that you get, but the support as well.
You have questions?
Just as a statement, and if you live in an apartment or a condo, you don't have space, look around for your local makerspace, hackerspace, because they're gonna make your life a lot easier. If they're a good one, they'll have 3D printing, they'll have electronics, they'll have CAD, they'll have a CAD cam, a CNC cutters, they'll have a wood shop, they'll make your life a lot easier if you're living in an apartment.
And you're gonna make a lot of new friends too.
Yes.
Because when you drag in like a pinball machine project, everyone's a little bit curious. They come walking up, they're like, let me help you laser cut some plastics for this, The idea of like you just start drawing shapes and they're cutting laser things, or laser cutting plastics for you. Someone else is like, helping out with wiring and things like that. It's like moth to a flame. Like you just bring it in and everybody wants to be a part of a project like that. But I do want to add too, when we were talking about the CAD stuff, like it's been my experience, like I'm more like Scott in the idea, like I like to physically lay things out and everything else. I've been very fortunate to have some very fantastic mechanical engineer friends who, and this I felt like this was a negative thing before, but like they're very talented at what they do, but they tell me I don't know what to build. Like if there's a project to build, I can do it perfectly. And we can 3D print every piece and they fit just right and stuff. So in ways that you might not expect to find comrades on projects, sometimes it's just putting together a really cool, like rough sketch kind of physical project, but then somebody else is gonna step up and go, let me take this, make some measurements, I'm gonna make some 3D printed ramp pieces, we're gonna try some stuff out. So the makerspace suggestion that's fantastic. Like I really do think that it is fun to show people what pinball is, because pinball is a STEM class in a box. Like every discipline that we're all hoping that we have more time to spend on, or that our kids are gonna spend time on, it is a really great project to collaborate around. So makerspace, awesome.
Absolutely.
And then one question.
Yeah.
Really easy reference, laying out shots, width, like what's considered a tight shot, like 1.25 inches?
How far is it from the flipper?
An experience right there.
You're gonna have to play with it. So there's I mean, the closer the shot, the tinier it can be.
Right.
So, but you have something really far away, you're gonna want to really open that up, but you have to try it. You absolutely have to just go in, build something. Just put two screws, 2 drywall screws right in the thing there. Anyone get that reference? Put those in your playfield, and then just try and shoot through it with the flippers just activated, and just see how it feels.
How difficult it is, how difficult you want it to be, is it supposed to be a challenge shot or just normal shot? But yeah, you just gotta try it out.
You gotta try it. One of our ramps, Omar did 3 or 4 different versions, right? And we kept widening the mouth and changing it. And
So the left funnel ramp for our homebrew, I think that one that's currently on the playfield is the 3rd iteration that we did, and the first one did well. The second one did kind of okay, but then that's how we started learning that maybe this shot should not be this difficult if we just open up the ramp opening just a little bit more, make the walls a little bit higher.
we didn't know that until we had already printed the thing and put it on the board.
Yeah.
So ripped it out and put another one in.
Here's how I cheat, is I take a shot from a game that I like, and I measure it from the flipper to the shot, and I measure the shot, and I'm done. There you go. So I multiply that by however many, and then I know I want some hard shots and some easy shots. So I'm a cheater big time.
I say you were inspired by it.
There you go, inspired by it.
It's not cheating.
No.
Not cheating.
Yes.
Because we have such a good range of development and party comp up here, I'm really curious for each of your games, what was one of the biggest walls that you hit when developing your first game, and how you overcame it? And for those of you who developed more than one game, was the wall similar for both games, or is it like every game is different?
I can think of our biggest challenge, which we struggled with on our first game too, which was just building ramps, because we really wanted like production style already ramps. And so we tried everything between like vacuum forming, we cut like acrylic. Unfortunately, I feel like we weren't really happy until we got like laser cut metal, so that's not like the greatest answer. Yeah, basically, so
You can
building
cardboard.
stuff,
You can cardboard that.
Yeah. Did you use like send cut send for that?
Well,
You can try it.
Yeah.
we got a plasma cutter actually.
You can go that route too.
Or you get a plasma cutter.
Homebrew's all about like what tools do you have and what tools do your friends need, and then you pull it together.
I think this is a great reason to maybe check out the makerspace, because how much did the laser cutter cost? A lot. How much was a makerspace subscription of like a year cost? Probably less than that. But flip side, you have a laser cutter now, so that's pretty cool.
So the wall, the wall
The
that you run
wall.
into and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's come back. You've done multiples. What do you got?
Software bugs. So
Yeah.
you design your game, you have labored and blood, sweat, and tears for hours. You finally have a layout that you're happy with. Your game flips, you're super excited. Now you want to add a mode or a multi-ball. And you add a multi-ball in a mode, but they don't play nice together. Like your multi-ball crashes your bass, the music isn't quite in sync, and you're not sure why. So what I do, and it happens all the time, especially if you stack. Like if you stack a multi-ball with a like you want all those moments, but they don't play nice. So what I do is I step away from my computer, I take my dog, and I go for a walk, and I just kind of breathe air, and I go, why aren't those things working? I took a lot of walks. You know, I probably lost 10 pounds with my first game. So the deeper the modes and the more stuff you want to put, sometimes those different things will conflict, and that's going to drive you bananas because you've got your art, you've got your layout, you have everything, but things aren't working the way they should. And if you're the type of person that can't let that go, like me, then you're going to lose sleep. So sometimes you just have to step away and do something else. That was the wall for me.
I know for me, the big wall that I hit on TNA, I don't talk about this one too much, but when I was first doing the locking mechanism between the actual stand-up targets, or the drop targets, it wasn't reliable, and it was doing very strange things where it was bouncing around, and if someone nudged the machine really hard while it was actually trying to capture a ball, it could hit the thing again behind it and knock it down and cause all sorts of problems. And I had to try to put myself in the position of, like, let's say a person who's trying to hack this thing and trying to break it, and try to code around that to make sure that it's working. And in the end, I don't know if it helps anybody here, but in the end, to do that, I was able to pulse the drop, even if the drop target was up, I could pulse it and use a pulse width modulation on the actual coil itself, so that that drop target cannot physically be dropped even if it's hit. And it does that a lot, and you can hear it if you pay attention to a TNA and listen to the coils going when it locks. You'll hear and you can watch it, even if it's up, it pops up just a little bit, and you can see how long it's holding it up and all this stuff and all that timing. It took a long time to kind of get that right, and a lot of like videotaping and a lot of me watching people play at shows and all this stuff. So that was what I did there. I was able to get around it, and you know, you just got to keep going at it. You can't give up on stuff like that. If it makes you uncomfortable, that means that that's actually a positive thing. You should be pushing yourself to do uncomfortable things and things that you don't know how to do when building an actual machine like that.
That's a really good example. That's cool. All right, so as the guy that's not built any full pinball machines myself, a lot of the work I do is like helping like commercial games design wiring and stuff like that for their games. So groups that are building in facilities all over the world, like we design how all the wiring gets routed, then we build sample looms and things like that, send them to them. So the hardest part for me is I tell people I've got adult onset OCD, because like, man, if I get about 70% through my wiring, I'm like, I gotta fix it. Like it's electrically sound, but something is too tight over here and that kind of thing. So I think that sometimes the hard part for me in any project is like, I can see so clearly what I think it needs to be, but my ability to get it there exactly the way I picture it in my mind is a hang up sometimes. And so I found the remedy for that for me personally is like work with other people. Because if we're trying to get something done and get something working tonight, and I'm going, hold on, I need to make this wire like 1/8 of an inch longer so it lines up with the rest of the other ones, my buddy's gonna go, let's just get it flipping. Like, let's move on, you know? And sometimes I need that to kind of get rolled along to a project so we can actually get it to someplace that we can celebrate. So yeah, my OCD-ness gets in my way sometimes.
Aaron saw my wiring and his nose started gushing blood, so I don't show him my wiring harnesses anymore. They're not very good.
You had hair before.
I mean, I'll admit, I used frequent flyer miles to fly out to visit a friend who was taking on a massive project. All I could see is like, this is gonna be a wiring nightmare if I can't help. And so I offered to fly out and help, and he smoked a brisket, we hung out, we wired a pinball machine, and now we're buddies for life. So, there you go.
I think we have time for one more question before we wrap it up. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for all this intel. It's really, really exciting. I'm just finished. I just released my first table and visual pinball.
Nice.
And I'm really excited. It's called Camping Trip.
Nice.
It's an original. And it's all my own music and stuff like that. And so it's something that took me a very long time. I'm very excited. but I'm really nervous. And I have an Ernie kit in the mail.
Yay!
Right on.
So I'm there, but I'm nervous about the coding going from VPX into, because it's really quite nice right now, right? Like I'm very proud of, and the other cool thing about visual pinball that, you know, it's my first time ever doing it. I've worked for about 2.5 years on this table. I can't tell you how much free labor has been put in from the community. It's insane. I mean, you can really find, I've never had that, especially being a musician, there's a lot of free stuff that you do in your life to move through, but holy moly, I've never seen that kind of a response, and people updating, putting in fuzzy physics on it for free, and just all this elevation. It's been like 2 weeks out, and 3 different releases and updates. So I'm very proud of the coding, but I'm very nervous about turning it into mission pinball framework. No experience in that. Have you ever done that kind of a transfer before, or any advice?
Oh, I haven't gone from visual pinball, but I will say, like, so MPF, the regular site has reasonable documentation, but the most useful thing I found was, I think it's Anthony Van Winkle. He released like all of his code for Mass Effect. So if I ever needed something, I would just reference his code, because he has like custom Python stuff as well. If you like in the scenario where you need to do something that MPF can't handle.
Yep.
So I would recommend that, but I don't think there's a good way to just get like a, you know, I have code here and do it here. You probably didn't have to do it.
I imagine it's going to be the most daunting thing to have, because it's just so shiny now in the visual pinball world, and so I'm preparing to be like, oh no.
Yeah, and that's okay. So what you should really do though is sit down with your visual pinball table and start out with what's the easiest thing that you can make MPF do. And in my opinion, it is getting the flippers working.
Yep.
Right? So the first stage, right? And just make a list of things, right? And say, after the flippers are running, what's the next thing I want to do, right? I don't know anything about your game, but like, let's say you want to have the incidental music be playing properly, right? Get that going next, right?
Yep.
And then just take it one little step at a time.
Cool.
And it won't be very daunting, but you still want to push yourself here. Don't be comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? So I want you, if you are not, you know, nervous or stressed out in making this, then I feel like maybe you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Sure.
So just don't be upset and don't be afraid if it gets really stressful or gets daunting or anything like that. Just take a step back, take a breath, and start working at it just one little bit at a time, and eventually you're going to get to a point where that physical game is going to be just as polished, if not better, than the visual pinball.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to change some of the flow of it, because visual pinball does have some limits for sure. Like so I was working within that, and I'm ready to stretch out how to access modes and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm definitely open to how it'll take the next step. But yeah,
Well, I
I'll
would
show
say-
anybody if you want to see it.
I'd suggest too, like, you know, I mentioned before, like sometimes you're trying to get help. Like, you know, I tell everybody this, like, imagine the person that's the answer to your question has like 5 minutes to help you on their lunch break. So in whatever groups, Discord, Slack channels and stuff like that, ask very clear questions and give examples if you've got a shot overlay or something like that. But having done it in visual pinball, I mean, you can say literally download this table, play this mode, see what I did up here. How would I even start to translate this?
Yeah.
Now the people that could help you go, oh, okay, that's a carousel thing with this little extra bit of input and a qualifying shot. Okay, here's what I did that's similar to that. And that's a really quick way to like get some deep example help. That's beyond the, okay, get the flippers flipping, you can do that from documentation, but like the really complicated mode stuff, like let the community like pique their interest and like try and get them to help solve problems, because we all like to jump out of the problems we're trying to solve to try and help somebody else once in a while. It recharges the batteries, then we can get back to the work we've got to do. So, yeah.
I guess just offer a little bit of encouragement. Is in some sense the hard work is done. You have the hard part is developing the system, transferring the system to a new language is a challenge. There'll be a learning process there, but I think you'll find that you'll probably get through it a lot faster than the first program took. And kind of the same way that learning visual pinball, getting into this point, took a while, a learning process. And we've already done it. You've already, it's learning one thing and then learning another thing that's similar. I feel like it gets easier and easier the more things you learn, the easier it is to learn the next thing, and then the next thing, the next thing.
I want to say one quick 20-second story, and I'll drop the mic. As far as collaboration, so as far as collaboration with, so this is a super collaborative community of folks that work together. I'll give you a quick example. Big Trouble in Little China, it was a week before Expo. The game was done, and I was polishing some of the scoring. Scoring is the last thing I do because I don't really care about scoring. I like the moments and the modes and stuff, but I know people like to score. So I'm putting in the, right? So I'm putting in scoring, and I play a couple of test games, and the game just breaks. It stops talking, it stops tracking timers, modes, balls, everything, and I don't know what's going on. The game is broken, it's unplayable, and I'm almost in tears. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I send my log to the Discord chat. I'm like, Lifeline, phone a friend, I am out of Schlitz, please help. As I was scoring, somebody caught this. Instead of writing score on the right slingshot, I wrote number 550. So every time the ball hit the slingshot, it would add 550 players to my game. Yeah, right. I'm done. I'm out. I quit. You're good. It took me sending the log to Discord. I would never have caught that. Somebody's like, bro, something's adding all these players to your game. And I saw it and my brain exploded. And I thought, well, at least it wasn't the super jackpot with 10 million. I think the game would have caught fire at that point. So there are so many things where you can misstep, but the community is here to catch you. And as long as you are able to give, you can get that advice back. So it's a super collaborative journey for sure.
And one last thing too. So for your case, for instance, use the building blocks that MPF gives you first. And then if MPF doesn't have a building block for the exact thing you want, skip it and move on to the next thing and build all that stuff. Learn Python and then start making your own interfaces within MPF. Learning Python is very, very important, even if you're using MPF.
Also pretty easy. It's of the programming language. It's probably easy.
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, and you can use it in your everyday life as well. I know I do.
All right, Emoto's giving us a wrap-up signal. So thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to Homebrew. Come out and play the games. Have a great show.